Hi, Natalia. Welcome to the Impact Revolution channel. Thank you so much for coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me, Yoshi. It's great to be able to hear talk to you from I'm in Spain at the moment. I travel
Yeah,
all over the world, so I'm like in Spain.
I love it, and you show me now right now the beautiful size that you have. So thank you so much for that. So Natalia, normally we ask couple of personal questions that are more a bit personal, so the audience knows you a bit better, and then later we can go to the more professional question. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. So you've been in California, which is a place I want to visit. You are in Barcelona, in a very beautiful place. So if I ask you if you could wake up anywhere in the world tomorrow, where it would be and why?
Great question. Well, I am going to wake up in Barcelona tomorrow, but
Uh
and I'm very happy about that.
huh. Sure.
But I think the next spot I want to be, which I'm hoping to be next month, is in Tibet. I haven't been to
Tibet.
Tibet yet.
Oh,
Yes.
that's really cool. All right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
heard. I saw that you really like mountains.
I love it.
All right. That's very nice.
Well, that was the thing that when I climbed Everest, 21 years ago,
Uh
I
huh.
actually was so tired afterwards that I thought I should go to Tibet,
Uh huh.
and I didn't, and so I regret that. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna do it. This
There
summer I'm
is
gonna do it.
always time. There is always better later than never, right? That's really
Exactly.
nice. And why do you like so much climbing and all these things? I'm just curious.
I love it because you tend to just, be able to do some great exercise, really
Huh?
get yourself away from reality, right? From
Hmm.
real world. And there's no internet up there. So they can,
A lot of monks.
um, back then, but it's
Huh?
really just a challenge, and it helps your mind a lot because
Uh,
life sometimes can be so difficult.
Sure.
But when you're looking at you're climbing, you're like, I'm here to survive, and look at this. This is unbelievable. I actually
Yeah,
accomplished something too.
that's really cool. Yeah, I think it was something related to that. So thank you for sharing, Natalia. All right, good. And now I wanted to ask you, you've done so many things already in your life, and I was wondering if you had all the money in the world, what would you do and why, Natalia?
Wow, all the money in the world. I was, I don't want all the money in the world.
Sure,
I don't think I
sure.
could spend it all.
Uh-huh.
But what I would actually, I would probably give about 80% of it away to, like,
Uh-huh.
doing more impactful things to help people actually be able to do better with their lives.
Uh-huh.
I think that we
Uh-huh.
can do so much more by giving it to people who need it and who can actually
Mm.
do things. That's why I love, about investing and about being part
Uh-huh.
of a entrepreneurial ecosystem. You really
Sure.
give an opportunity to people. So I would
Mm.
probably give about 80% of it away.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. Now that you share that you do this entrepreneurship and you do the investings and venture capitalism and all this stuff, I was wondering, what is your why, Natalia?
My why? Because I think there's so much yet to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think technology, as we know it today, still has a long way to happen. We're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. We started our first iPhone was in 2007, six. First application was 2008. I mean, what we know as far as technology is concerned still has a lot more to do. So,
Totally
the reason
agree.
why we invest in technology is that
Mm-hmm.
reason, because it
Mm-hmm.
can really solve people's problems, and it can make it easier for folks.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much. Yes, you have accomplished so much. Looking at your experience, all right, you have like more than 30 different experience in your LinkedIn profile.
I
So I
love,
was,
I can't get stuck to one. I like doing
yeah,
several things.
I was wondering, from all of them, Natalia, what is your favorite or the accomplishment that you are most proud of?
Um, well, being able to start a company, my second company, and for it to
Uh,
do well, and
uh-huh,
for me to give, be able to provide jobs and provide a different perspective. It was something new, clean
uh-huh,
tech back then, and helping with the green economy, getting folks to understand the green economy and how going green was something that was going to benefit to all, even the bottom dollar, right? That back then everyone used to say it's so expensive to do green stuff and sustainable things. That I can say that I was threatened many times, and a lot of people just didn't believe in it.
Mm.
But if you believe in what you're doing and you think that this is something that will be good for impact and impactful, and now you see, we talk about the green economy, we talk about climate change. Now everyone
Yeah, you were
is
the
more
pioneer
concerned.
in that moment,
Yeah,
right?
people want to
That's
know
really
where
cool.
their stuff comes from.
Uh-huh.
So I'm very proud of that. I think that when we started and led the green economy, it was something that needed to happen. And even though people don't like you, and they'll insult you, and they'll say bad things to you, you keep
Congratulations.
fighting. No, you
You
keep
know,
fighting, and you're right. And at the end, I was right.
yes, there is a commonly thing known, for the startups and entrepreneurs that the ones who succeed are have a really tough mindset, right, and resilience and grit. So I was wondering, in your case, in this case, right, because probably could have been one of your biggest challenge back then, especially, right, when you just say that it was not so popular. What was the obstacles or the things that you had to overcome, Natalia?
I think the obstacles, which disruptors, I guess, like me, are in general the society. Society wants to put you in certain boxes, and they've said this is how it's been done for a long time. Why change
Mm,
it? It works.
mm,
I think the obstacle in itself can be that culture of just like, let's don't break it if it's fine. Don't try to fix it. It works, and that's not what innovation is about. Innovation is to find newer ways of improving,
uh-huh,
not to just do the status quo and just keep doing the same thing.
uh-huh,
So I think there in itself, I think you can people and when they settle are their own obstacles. I think that
uh-huh.
a lot of regulations, really bad regulations,
Mm,
ideas that sometimes we think, oh, it's best for me or my community, can be impactful to other communities. So we have to think in a more holistic approach. What
mm,
you do can actually impact many other people, and it can impact new industries, and it can kill industries. There was
yeah.
legislation that was going to, you know, completely kill sustainable measures in the Northeast
Mm,
because the electric companies were going to be like, they're gonna be prices are gonna go up, and then there's no way for poor communities to insulate their homes, for example.
mm,
And then they were
indeed, that makes
passing
sense.
legislation that wasn't going to help.
Uh, that's incredible. Okay, very good. Yeah, I actually feel you, because I have similar issues with the coaching business and all that, right? It's a
Hmm.
change of mindset, basically, and going against the things that we never question, right? And we took it for granted, but then they can be improved for sure. Thank you so much, Natalia. Yeah, sure.
We have to
What you say?
question things. That's the thing. We always
Yeah,
said,
totally.
sometimes when we think about technology, we forget to question.
Mm,
We tend to go sometimes into too many like ways to fix it, and then we spend so much time trying new things that we forgot what the real question was about. Like, why did we start it? And
yeah, the purpose,
I
right?
have to tell people that a lot of our big companies or tech companies didn't
Mhm.
start because they wanted to solve big issues. They started because they were solving one thing. They're
Mm,
trying to come up with something that to fix the system. So they were asking why. Why is it not
uh,
working? Let me figure out how I can make it work.
uh-huh. Okay, very good. Thank you so much because of this why thing. I was wondering what was your main lessons learned, in terms of your experience so far. I'm sure you have seen everything
Lessons
or
learned.
many things.
I've learned not to be afraid, and I've learned not to be ashamed. Like I have literally no fear of asking people for stuff. I have no fear of saying what's on my mind. So I've learned that
Uh-huh.
because sometimes you're too cautious of what is it they're going to say. They're going to talk badly about me or something. So I've learned to be able to be a lot more resilient. That's for sure.
Mm,
And to
all
and to
right.
be and also to be I like to say a charming nagger. So I be persistent in a very diplomatic way,
Okay, I love
but
it. Thank you.
don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up.
But don't be
Uh,
annoying either. Like
uh,
you have to do that, in between. You have to, you know, be persistent, but don't pester. Just slowly
yeah,
but surely provide better information and keep at it. Don't give up too easily.
yeah. It's a balance at the end, right? It's a
Yeah.
balance between yeah. Very good. Thank you so much. And regarding this, how did you get to this mindset, Natalia?
Well, after things don't go well, like after my first company, which didn't do so well,
All right.
I was young and I thought I knew everything. Uh,
Sure.
I realized that I need help. That there's a lot of resources out there. That's a lot of smarter people than me. There's people who had a lot more experience, and that you have to ask these questions, and so you can actually learn from those things. And I think
Very
when you
good.
fail, you really have an opportunity to learn.
Mm,
You and rectify that. Just don't just give up and say, oh, I'm a loser. I wasn't successful. No, you learned and you get right back up and
mm,
you actually get out there and just do it differently. But
mm,
don't give up very easily. Just
sure.
do your homework is a thing. And I
Uh,
really realized that in the U.S. there's a lot of development centers that can help you with your business plan. There's mentor program that can help you, when certain industries, if you need a mentor. We have
totally.
14,000 mentor program in the U.S. that the U.S. government provides, which
Oh, okay.
later on I came to run that program. you know, at
That's really
the
cool. Very
ministry.
good.
Yeah, that's really cool. It was really cool because that ministry or that department, which is the U.S. Small Business Administration,
Uh-huh.
does all these programs across the U.S. to help startups and to help entrepreneurs. And no, and it
Uh-huh.
doesn't have to be one entrepreneur or a startup. It can be family businesses that have been 3 generations. So any business. And so
Mm,
there's there to help you with all this, and this is for free. And so really
that's really
important. And
nice.
when I
That's
went
really
to work
cool.
for this, for in the Obama administration, I was
Uh-huh.
working in this ministry, in this
Uh-huh.
department.
That's really cool. Actually, I'm very interested to hear more about that, Natalia. What were the main lessons you take from all these mentors or to working with all these mentors? What are the best tips you can guide to support people, right?
Yeah, and it's not the what you can take away from your mentors is their experience. You don't have to do everything that they tell you to do, but you
Mm-hmm.
have a different perspective. A third opinion, or a second set
Mm,
of eyes, you might want to call it.
sure.
Sometimes people don't like to be criticized, but you have to take criticism, in a constructive way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they're critical. Don't take things personal,
Uh,
because if you ask the right questions and you ask, people who actually have done this before, you can take away some very good pieces of information that can
mm,
actually start shaping the way you are more strategic about things.
uh,
They've gone
different
through it before.
perspectives, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Uh, you know, there's so many different people, different walks of life, and you might have 30 entrepreneurs in the same type of industry, but they have seen it in a different perspective, different angle. They've had different
Totally.
experiences.
All right. Very good. All right. Very nice. Thank you so much. And now, regarding the impactful revolution, right, or the impact things that you are doing, what is your favorite projects right now, Natalia?
So I'm starting a think tank.
Fintech.
So it's going to be focused on all women. So everything that has to do with women, from entrepreneurship to impactful. It could be
I love it.
agriculture, it could be technology, it could be political aspirations.
Uh-huh.
Um, a friend of mine in the Obama administration, she helped start an organization to help more women become politicians, for example. And out of that particular organization, more women have gone into politics. And so I think that it's a need for more think tanks in Europe, for example. And I wanted it to be something that is very holistic.
Mm,
Everything that we can talk about that people can advocate for, have really
uh-huh.
good researchers and promote good advocacy.
Mm,
And so I think I'm going to start in Europe and the Middle East and Africa, but right now, the EMEA around the Mediterranean. And I think
mm,
there's a lot of good things happening around the Mediterranean, because I think that and I started this initiative a little while ago, of the cities around the Mediterranean, and
mm,
how they can share best practices and share ways that they can improve, especially around entrepreneurship. So I
mm,
call it 17 cities, 17 SDGs. So mirroring the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals.
uh-huh.
So cities can start really, instead of waiting for the national governments to move, cities have more in common.
Mm, okay, interesting. And why did you started this?
Because I think there's a need, there's not
Uh-huh.
enough, and there's a lot of loose ends. So there's a lot of, there are organizations that are doing some things around women. Some are doing, women in science, or women in tech, women in impact, women investors, women. So I believe that bringing all of them together, or
Mm,
giving them the platform necessary for them to be able to share. You'd be surprised how many things you can learn from each other, and
mm,
instead of like starting something new, you can new initiative or new program within that department or that company, that if
uh-huh.
you are able to share in one platform all this information, that you actually save a lot of time and money by being able to go to that think tank, that repository of ideas and research, and
Uh-huh.
be able to use it better.
Okay, really good. Okay, no, no, it sounds great. It sounds great. Natalia, and why woman?
Well, I'm a woman, so I figure I would be. No, um,
I see that. I see that.
because there is this, because it's kind of, I think it needs a little bit more structure. There's a lot of great initiatives, and people are talking about gender, and we're talking about like more women, for example, in California and Silicon Valley. There's the most investment out of all the investment is 2% in women-owned companies. I mean, we still have a long
Mm,
ways to go.
definitely.
Women as entrepreneurs in certain places in Africa, still ways to go.
Uh,
There's a lot of, for example, in Spain, there's so many women scientists. Uh, get them to start a company, or get them to, is still harder for them. Lending. So women, so many times when men want to borrow money, it takes them a long time to borrow, like to really they overanalyze a lot, and so our lending to small women owned companies is not as high as it
there
could
is
be.
a lot of bias there,
So
I
there's a
guess.
lot of bias still, and I think that
Uh,
to empower young girls, especially young, you have to get them to start already in, elementary
totally.
school. In
Uh,
elementary school, you have to start
yeah.
feeling a
It's
lot
the
more.
cultural thing, the sex role,
Yes,
it's a psychological thing that every woman and man, as well are,
everyone.
yeah,
Yeah,
we are just programmed in that way,
sometimes,
uh,
yeah, because of your culture or because of the education system. So if
the
we can
education and the
change our
culture.
education system, but we have
Mm,
to change it, but with good research. That's why I believe there's a need for think tanks, like real good research. Not every model fits to your country or to your city or to your community.
yeah.
You have to do real research, and be able to test it out, not be able to just go and, oh, this works. Like everyone wants to be Silicon Valley. And I'm like, you can't, not, no, it's not going to happen. Trust
It's
me.
not
It's
going to
just,
work.
it's not
It's a
going
lot
to.
of the culture and the countries and the
And it started a
society
long time ago, and it was a very different
is
story,
a big thing.
and there were certain elements there that made it happen, but not everything, not everyone. Try and do your own model by using different parts of the different
Mm,
models, and
hmm
and figure a new model for your particular region, or for your particular company, or your particular project or initiative.
Totally, yeah, no, I agree. I really like this project. I think empowering women is something that is needed. So yeah, good for that.
Yeah,
And yeah,
the more
no,
the better.
the
the more,
more the better.
the more
Actually,
the better.
from the part of emotional intelligence, I think the woman will be better leaders than man. Generally speaking. But anyway, that's my opinion. I
Thank
think
you
they
for
have
that.
more. No, it's true. I think they are more. they have more empathy. They have more. They talk about better about emotions, you know. And if you put that a bit of the aggressive part or the kind of male kind of thing, I think they will just take the whole world, you know. You know, I think so.
Well,
So let's see.
during COVID, there was really well done analysis of the countries that did really well on COVID were all led by women.
Yes, yes, I remember that, and I was not surprised. Really, I was not surprised. Okay, I love in this interview, Natalia. I was wondering, you know, what other things will you be able to share that are important? You know, main lessons learned from your side regarding to, you know, for young startups or entrepreneurs, you know, to succeed in this changing world. You know, that everything is so accelerating and it has a lot of things, and especially now in these times as well, it can be hard. Mm,
Well, it always look starting a company, being an entrepreneur is extremely hard. Not
mm,
everyone is successful. We have a ratio that's 1 in 10 that actually
mm,
gets out the door. But it's always a good idea to start and
mm,
try it. And if it fails and you try it again and it keeps failing, maybe it's time to pivot, right? It's time to
mm,
change the idea. Sometimes people get stuck. Oh, this is the best idea. The ones that we've seen are successful realize that there has to be a pivot, that you have to change maybe the way this product or the use case of that technology is not the best use case that you were thinking. You might be in many companies today, realize by a lot of design thinking, by a lot of experimenting and so on, and said, oh, this technology originally was for this. But now
sure.
we find it can be used for something else.
Hmm.
And so being really pragmatic,
Hmm.
and
Pragmatic.
not
Hmm.
be afraid of changing, because
Hmm.
a lot of people get stuck. Oh, this was my original idea. Like, you need to change and be practical. And you have to think that when your company is growing and you go from 10 to 20 employees and then to 100 employees, remember, you're feeding 100 households. You're feeding a
Mm,
lot of children. These people are making their life is your part of their worth is that working in that company and your company that
sure.
you started. So you have your responsibility for
Mm, hmm.
is really important. Don't always be conscious. My second company, I didn't pay myself for a year, but I had to pay. I have to pay people. So it's so you have to be very you know conscientious that this is no longer a one person shop. This is something that
Uh,
grows, and you want it
uh,
to grow. A lot of people get stuck very comfortable and just a very small, and sometimes that's good and that's
uh,
absolutely fine. If you want to go ahead and just be a small shop, not a problem. But if you're going to grow to do something bigger, you gotta you sometimes have to tighten the belt,
mm.
uh, and
Compromise, right? Yeah,
compromise, and
definitely.
definitely egos are out the window. Do your ego thing is not practical. It just doesn't work.
Doesn't
It
work.
does not work.
All right, thank you for sharing that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's about serving people rather than getting in love with a product, an initial product or service that you may have in your mind at the start, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you have to love your company, of course, and you have to love
Mm-hmm.
what you do, but don't get stuck in
Mm,
one thing. Figure out as many use cases as possible, because what makes a product or a company successful is being able to provide more uses, right? Being able
mm,
to grow more, divisions within that product. Google got started as a Google search. Now that's
mm.
the tiny part of their company.
Yeah, that's everything now.
Um,
Yeah.
so, reinvest in the company. This is really important. And a lot of companies that have done well too have really done good research.
Mm,
They're doing their homework constantly.
mm,
Because in order for you to be competitive, because one of the very interesting things that people don't mention, and because I was advisor for innovation and competitiveness, they always
mm,
people get stuck on the innovation side. I'm like, you cannot be innovative unless you start thinking competitively, because you
mm,
are trying to improve your product or service. And so
mm,
you're improving it to be competitive, to stay ahead of the curve, to compete against the others, because competition is good. It makes it makes you want to change it, right, and improve
Mm,
it.
definitely. No, that's great. That's great advice for sure. I was thinking, that you had experienced so much and you have this company that you felt at the start, the first one, right? And I'm sure you learned so much and you asked for feedback and all that stuff and later came back. I was wondering, what is your favorite or your most impactful failure that you had that you learned the most? It was that one?
Yeah, no, that definitely is a really tough one. um, that one was definitely a big one.
Huh?
Um, when there's several things that I failed at, that I say, wow, if I had to do it again, maybe I wouldn't do it that way.
Definitely.
um, I don't regret anything I've done, and I think that you just don't do it the same way.
Well, I think you have become stronger with that,
You become much
and
stronger.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that's why I was asking, I was asking because what was your main lessons learned, from that, from those experiences, right?
yeah.
Because, yeah. Mm.
You become stronger. You become more thick skin. I say thick skin. You and you're not ashamed.
Hmm.
You really brush things off that people might say, or you're like, I didn't die.
Yeah, right. We think it's going to be
uh,
the end of the world,
yeah,
but it isn't, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I've been at a point where I had very little money, like $100 in my bank account, like down to like nothing practically.
Uh,
And you're just like, wow, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to do these things? And this is very tough. You're just, trying to make
I feel
ends
you there.
meet. But somehow, with by working hard, this is my big message. You got to work hard. You got to
Mm,
have at least get your kids to understand what it is to work.
mm,
I give thanks to my grandparents and my parents, because my grandfather used to make every summer since I was 8 years old in his hardware store. And he had a small gas station, a hardware store, and like we would be like, go pump the gas, or go count worms, or go
uh,
count the little, hooks for the fishing.
uh-huh.
And I love that. I made money, and I feel
Beautiful.
responsible. And I think it's
Uh,
important for young kids to learn how to work,
yeah,
and how to how to earn $1 or €1
yeah.
or a real.
All right.
No, no, it's
Yeah.
very important.
It is, isn't it? And now, actually, I think you made a good point. Younger generations, including mine, actually, and now Gen Z and all that, they have everything for granted, right?
Mhm.
And many things that they don't value it as much as you used to be or used to be, right?
Yeah,
And that could make some expectations a bit unrealistic, I think, which I think is going to be one of the challenges in future generation. Uh, yeah.
yeah.
What
For
is
this
your view?
generation, yes, because this generation, they're very smart. They have more information than before, way, way, way much more. But the thing is, how do you, um, how it's great to have intelligence, but the knowledge, the experience, tough one. That teaches you a lot more.
It's very nice that you mentioned that. I was reading a book and it says, we are in the information age, but not in the knowledge age. It's
Exactly.
different. So it's too much information, but the important is the experience and all that. We have 1 minute and a half left. Natalia, thank you so much
No.
for joining. Yeah, it's quick sometimes. I could talk with you for hours, really. I was wondering if there is anything else that you would like to share that we haven't covered so far, Natalia.
Sure. I mean, I think, first of all, thank you, because I think that these podcasts and these interviews are important for people to learn about other people's experiences, because
Hmm.
just like I'm the girl next door.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know what I've done, but neither do you know about your neighbor. And so it's important to learn from other folks, and to reach
Yeah.
out, and don't be afraid to reach out. Like,
Mm.
we are so fortunate today to have so many platforms that we can reach out to, ask, and I'm always happy to help.
Uh,
Sometimes I don't have as much time as I wish,
sure.
but don't be afraid to reach out to folks, to ask questions. You never know. We have so many smaller degrees of separation today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
when people always ask me, how is it working with, how did you make it to work with Barack Obama? And I'm like, I asked questions. So I was sitting in the front row of his, with part of his team. They were on the stage, and I kept asking questions, and they're like, why don't you come and join us? I said, okay. That's how I went. Actually, that's how I went to work for President
That's
Obama.
really cool. Yeah, no, thank you to you, Natalia. It was great. Thank you so much for your time. I know you are very busy, and it was beautiful. I love doing these things because I really learn from people like you, and it's beautiful that you are so kind and you are so sharing. So thank you. That's the well. One last question, okay? Now that we have, yes, if you could leave a whole message, or an important message to the whole world, what it would be, Natalia?
To think of the future generations, really don't think about just the next one. Think about the ones that are 100 years from now. It is so important that your legacy is not only about yourself,
Mm.
but it's about what you actually have been able to accomplish to make this a better world for the 5 generations from the past that are still not here today.
I love it. You give me goosebumps because I totally believe in that. Thank you so much, Natalia. It was a big pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Talk to
No,
you
thank
soon.
you, Yoshi. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thank you.